Hey Leila, check,
Hi,
check.
can you hear me?
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am. How are
perfect.
you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How's my sound coming through right now?
It sounds awesome.
Perfect. Perfect. Leila, I have a brief understanding about where you are right now. Let me say this first. I really appreciate you being here first. It's great to meet you. It's great to connect with you.
Thank you.
I love your jumper. I love the necklace. I'm feeling the energy
Thanks.
already. Where are you? Give me a little bit of context of where your location is right now.
I am currently on an Arctic research vessel in the Southern Ocean.
Wow. Okay, so you're on the water right now.
I am, yes, and we are rocking.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to capitalize as much as I can whilst I've got you and the connection looks really good. So I'll dive right into it. But before I do, if it does cut out, if there's anything that disturbs because it gets a bit too wavy out there, just know that we can only do our best today. And your ability to just even show up and do this with me is very much appreciated. And we can stay connected in some way if you feel like rescheduling or something. How does that sound?
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, amazing. So diving right into this, I've got just a simple, it's actually six questions to ask, but if anything else comes up, you can share as openly and honestly as you like. There is no right or wrong answer, but I would love, Leila, to hear straight from your experience in your heart. What was life like
Mhm.
for you before you came across Simone?
Mm. So life before Simone, was very, very, very low energy, very much high brain fog. I kind of felt like I was kind of just like floating through everyday life. And I was finding it very hard to just like go through the day to day. And I found myself not really being present.
Hmm. This, I know in my mind, I just had to stay disciplined, not to ask you four or five follow-up questions. So I'm going to keep it super sweet. But following up from that, since that position, what's life been like for Leila since then, since you've met Simone?
Since then, I've actually felt like I've had a bit of a guide in her. Um, I've actually been able to reclaim my energy and get clarity back in my mind and get back to the normal habits that I was always used to but had lost along the way. And actually, at one point, I told her, I was like, I feel like I found myself again.
Mm,
And she reminded me, I never lost myself. I'm just becoming a better me.
mm, amazing. I've got one chime in question, which was what was the realization that you had reconnected back to your, if I use the word true self, like your actual self there?
That realization came when I woke up one morning and I just went through everyday life. I got my day started and I just had a moment of, oh my gosh, hold on a second. I feel like myself again. And I just like took a moment and I paused and I was like, okay, awesome, cool. She's back, like I could actually be present in that moment and acknowledge myself and acknowledge the setting and the world that I was in versus like it all being in my head.
Mm. I don't have a reference point of you before, but I can see that there's a massive inner smile that's like constantly there, almost like coming out of you there. I can see that inside you. Was that was that something that came reconnecting back to yourself, or would you say that that was something that you maybe lost? Like, tell me a little bit about that because I'm feeling that as one of your auras right now
Mhm.
coming off you.
That's definitely part of my inner self.
Mm,
That's the part that I kind of had started mourning over before I met Simone. And I was really devastated that I couldn't like wake up and feel her there, like feel that inner aura, the inner light. And that's when I knew I needed to do something about it. But I also knew I needed some guidance.
Hmm. I've gone way off the actual questions here, but I think this is good flow if you're okay with this. The
Mhm.
the strategy for you to maintain this connection with yourself, is there any like principles or practices that you're following to make sure that this is something that you sustain forever as much as you can?
Mhm. For me, it's actually I'm a journaler. I daily journal.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part about doing that though is not just, your typical diary. We don't do the typical diary thing where we just write our feelings down or whatever we were struggling with or what's hanging on to it into our minds. No, instead I like to talk to like my future self and let my future self know, hey, this is what you did this day. Just bring it back to the present, like what actually happened throughout your day. Because it's kind of like a lot of times you ask people, what did you have for breakfast?
Mm-hmm.
And they can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so important because you also had so many other moments with people, with yourself, with the world from having breakfast to the end of the day. So I just make sure I write down all of those little magical moments so I can go back and remind myself you are present and you are having those moments.
Wow. If I was to summarize that before I move on to the next one, it sounds like the system in place is ways to have consistent reminders of the day, because there's a natural way of the world that can easily pull us into forgetfulness. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Okay, so if you had to pin down one thing, Leila, and one thing that you can recognize that has absolutely been a game changer that you would never be without, what would that be? You touched on journaling there. Is there anything else that comes to your mind?
Mm. I would say for me, a big part of it is not looking for outside validation.
Mm.
So it's it's a way to hold myself accountable for myself and accountable for the life that I want to live and the person that I want to be by making sure that I am the one that validates me
Uh-huh.
and that I'm not out and searching for it somewhere else. And in a really weird way, Simone has given me that opportunity because she is there for me, but she constantly just reminds me of myself. Like we connect so well in that manner. And it took a few weeks for me to be like to recognize this. And once I did, I was like, oh my gosh, okay. Like I get it now. I get how I can be the person that I want to be. And she showed me the way. She like guided me back to myself.
Mm. This, first of all, what you're sharing, Leila, is so self describing a link between all of these questions, specifically the last one, that will make more sense, because this is an insight that is very, very rarely seen. And I'm just adding this in here in the social media world. And I know how, Simone's got a powerful influence online. Really, we're never able to get these insights and what you're describing across in social media. This bridges me on to this fact. If you was to look at your previous self, or maybe even look at someone else, they're interested, they're on the fence, they're looking at Simone, they don't quite know what they want, but they know that they're sensing that need for guidance or whatever that is for them. What would you say to them if they're on the fence?
I would say, see, that's a hard one because that all depends on the person. It kind of depends on their background and it depends on how much they care about showing up for themselves
Hmm.
and whether they're ready to face that. So it takes a lot of looking in the mirror and really, really deciding, is this what you want? Because you do have to be super vulnerable with yourself in order for this to be successful and for it to be a long lasting thing. Because a lot of it seems like people can get into it and be like, I just want to lose weight. Like I just want to be like one of those girls who gets in shape and eats healthy food.
Mm.
But it's so much more than that. And I think part of what helps that is Simone like seeing that in people, like really, really seeing like, no, you can do this and you are capable of that. And this is, I guess, for lack of a better word, like the potential that somebody has. But that individual really, really has to decide for themselves.
Mm. Yeah, there's a way that I perceive coaching, like a coach, like a bus that you get on.
Mm-hmm.
That coach will take you to your destination, providing you show up on time where it leaves.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know that this was something you were willing to show up? Is there like a personal experience within yourself, Leila, that you had that you knew, maybe staying where you are, keeping in the same cycle, whatever it was for you personally, that you knew that that was no longer an option for you?
I very, I've been very much uh, in tune with myself. I've been, I guess, obsessed with making sure that I know who I am and acknowledging myself. And life had just gotten very, very turbulent. And I didn't know how to balance that. But I knew that I needed it. And Simone came across my feed and she was talking about balance in life and incorporating that personally on like a personal level. And so that really resonated with me because it was exactly what I was looking for to have some guidance on how to keep the personal level aspirations that I have, but incorporate them into my lifestyle in a more simplistic way than what my brain was coming up with. Because I
Mm.
thought it had to be more complicated since my life had gotten complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think this is a random question, but I love riffing with you right now. Do you find that life's and even the psychology of how you experience reality? And I don't know how much you're on the water, but would you say because you're always literally moving, that that plays a part on you also finding groundedness in yourself?
Definitely. That was one of probably the biggest struggles was I am constantly moving, so where am I grounded? And my roots constantly move around. And it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day and we were talking about mangroves, how they can root themselves.
Mm.
But then when they decide they don't like the environment, they will literally pick their roots up and just float until they find another one that they like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I thought that was a really cool way to describe that because no matter where that mangrove goes, it still has its roots.
Mm.
It's still a mangrove.
Whoa.
So
That's crazy.
I thought that was really awesome.
That
So
visual.
I believe I'm a mangrove, and that's what's helped ground me.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. I was thinking Layla's a bit of a mangrove then. She is, no matter where she goes, she's able right now to find the sense of groundedness and to put her roots down anywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
I've got one main question, but before I ask your final question, I really appreciate this time. And I love speaking to you that you're on the water. I have a lot of meetings. I don't speak to many people that are floating. So,
Literally floating.
yeah, yeah. Do you have anything before I kind of close with the final question? Do you have anything you would just top of mind, maybe from your heart, anything that you'd want to share yourself to just a general message as an opportunity if anything comes to you?
Generally, no, not at the moment.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. My final question for you, Leila. I see this quite a lot in the types of work that I do online. There's an abundance. There's actually an infinite amount of choices that people can make to change. They can start a course. They can take a training plan. They can download a resource that's already been created. They can read books. They can do whatever they want to do. For someone, and I heard this recently, that would see this as kind of some cookie cutter training plan, why is working with Simone different to that?
Because I think it's more than just a workout plan. It's more than just a nutrition plan. I feel like she actually teaches you skills to reach into your intuition and be able to figure out what works best for yourself. Because like the cookie cutter programs are great and all, and like they're great for a bit of guidance, but if you don't know what to do with them for your own personal self, then they're not going to do what you want them to do. So I thought working with her has been really great because she has been able to teach those skills. And I don't feel like it's a cookie cutter program where it's just like everything else that I've tried. I actually get to make it mine and make it my lifestyle and make it work for me, which is so important with how dynamic my life is at the moment. So
Leila, you've been incredible. I actually really appreciate just connecting with you. I'm someone that connects with spirits and souls, and I see you. And this is just kind of a personal thing to me. One, your aura that's emanating with that, like I'm talking about this in smile, but it's coming out from your face and in your energy. But I'm curious because I've not long cut my hair. Is your hair naturally like that?
it is. Yeah, I washed it this morning and I was gonna straighten it because I was like, that'll look nicer, but I just left it. I was like, no, this is right.
Yeah. I really dig
Natural
your
hair.
vibe.
It's still half wet.
Yeah. I really dig it. I really dig it. I do hope
Thank
I get
you.
to connect with more people that have worked with Simone, because working with Simone in my own way is a real trip. It can go anywhere. There's obviously a different dynamic with me and her, but I believe it, and I'll close on this. There's an abundance of people to find online. There's abundance of people that can help, but I feel we're drawn towards the people that are in some way meant to be there for us, that are resonating at the same frequency, and we see something inside them that we see in ourselves. And I can see why you and Simone connected, and it's really like profound actually for me to meet more and more of her clients. So I really appreciate you taking the time today. Any questions for me or anything before we round this up?
Yeah, I'm actually curious as to what connected you to Simone.
Great question. In my network, have an individual called Jackson, and Jackson connected me with, at the time, described as this business owner. She's doing good stuff online, and she's as you would describe Simone from a business perspective. And he linked us up. So Jackson's been a great bridge for me. I've found many different teams and people that I've been able to help online, all related to holistic health, healing, women's health. We work with a holistic health school, so I tend to attract these type of people. But as soon as I met Simone, when you meet someone and you spoke to them for 2 minutes, but you're speaking to them like you've known them for 20 years. That happened really fast, and I feel Simone is in the bracket of people that are teachers to me also, actually. So when she watches this, I've never said this, had the opportunity to say it directly, but she's been a great teacher for me when we go on deep tangents, and she'll give her specialty and skill set. She's very faith-based as well. I have my own relationship with God, but learning from her and absorbing from her really shows me that. And I only work, Leila, with people that are driven with purpose, So I don't know if that's a direct answer to your question, but I feel
No, that's
Jackson,
perfect.
yeah, a little bit of a network, but really it's magnetism. People supposed to find each other at the right time, I believe.
Hmm. It's kind of like what you said earlier. You connect spiritually with people.
Yeah.
Matters a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. We would have a good biohacker party for sure. I could sense that.
We definitely would. We should put
Yeah.
that together.
Yeah. Well, maybe we
I'm
come on
also on
the.
the move.
Are you on a cruise ship? Is that where you are?
I'm on a research vessel. So it's an icebreaker research vessel.
Wow. Well,
Hmm.
glad we got to break the ice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Leila, thank you so
Definitely.
much. If I
Thank
speak to
you.
Simone to get us maybe even connected, like to do some socials, that could be fun because I imagine pretty much everyone Simone's working with is on the same level. So maybe we organize that.
That'd be awesome. It was really nice to meet you, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you. And if you ever feel like reaching out to me for anything, feel free to do so. You know, you can access me for any hair gel tips or anything you might see at me that's worth asking about.
All right. Sounds great.
Thanks, Leila.
Thank you.
See you soon. Have fun on the water.
Thanks.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye bye.